In the summer of 1941, as Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, its massive invasion of the Soviet Union, the German troops encountered a battlefield surprise that sent shockwaves through the army: the T-34 medium tank. When the Panzer divisions first encountered this tank, they were stunned. The T-34's sloped armor deflected most anti-tank rounds, and its mobility across mud and snow made it perfectly suited for the Russian terrain. Traditional German anti-tank guns, such as the 37mm Pak 36, nicknamed the door knocker by the frustrated troops, were useless, and even some larger caliber weapons struggled to penetrate its defenses. The appearance of the T-34 revealed a stark reality. The German tanks and infantry weapons were technologically inferior in key areas. This forced the German army to adapt. When the T-34 first rolled onto the battlefield in the summer of 1941, the German infantry units found themselves terrifyingly outmatched. Most foot soldiers were equipped with bolt-action Karabiner 98K rifles, standard-issue MP40 submachine guns, and the aforementioned Pak 36 anti-tank guns, none of which could reliably stop the Soviet juggernaut. Facing a 26-ton armored machine with nothing but small arms was not just daunting, it was lethal. The psychological effect on the infantry cannot be overstated. First-hand accounts describe the T-34's shrugging off entire volleys of gunfire as they advanced, their thick armor plates sending sparks flying with each impotent hit. In some cases, units would break ranks or retreat in panic when they realized their weapons had no effect. In response, the infantrymen began to improvise with sheer desperation and courage. One of the earliest and most dangerous methods was the use of the geballte Ladung, or bundled stick grenades. Soldiers would lash together multiple Stielhandgranaten, or stick grenades, to create a larger explosive capable of damaging the tank's tracks or suspension. These bundles had to be thrown at just the right moment and at dangerously close range, often from hidden positions or even foxholes dug along tank approach path. Some soldiers resorted to climbing atop a T-34 itself, trying to wedge grenades into engine grills or turret hatches, or blind the crew by covering the vision slits with mud, cloth, or even their own gear. These tactics were not only improvised and primitive, they were often suicidal. Yet, they became a part of early anti-tank training out of sheer necessity. Another brutal method was the use of the Teller mines, a flat, disc-shaped anti-tank explosive designed for deployment on roads and choke points. In extreme cases, the German infantrymen would carry these mines and try to place or throw them directly under approaching tanks. Doing so required nerves of steel and was often a one-way mission. Some commanders, especially on the Eastern Front, began encouraging such attacks, rewarding successful missions with medals or posthumous honors. Love diving deeper into military history? This video is supported by my YouTube members who get exclusive videos weekly, not available anywhere else for their kind support. You can join their ranks easily. Just hit the join button now to get the exclusive videos and much more. Thank you for supporting me. I couldn't be doing it without your help. If you want to know more about Germany's Panzer tactics, check out my ebook in the description. This era saw the early development of the Panzerjäger or tank hunter mindset among the German infantry, men trained and equipped specifically to destroy enemy armor. From early 1942, a special decoration was awarded to individuals of the German army who had single-handedly destroyed an enemy tank or an armored combat vehicle using a handheld weapon. The Tank Destruction Badge or die Sonderabzeichen für das Niederkämpfen von Panzerkampfwagen durch Einzelkämpfer was established on the 9th of March 1942, but could be awarded for actions dating back to June of 1941. Though initially under-equipped, these soldiers would form the nucleus of more organized anti-tank units later in the war. Their legacy was born from the sheer grit of 1941, when the only thing standing between Soviet armor and the collapse of the German lines was the ingenuity of the men on foot. By early 1942, the Germans began deploying more potent tools to counter the T-34. Chief among them was the 7.5 cm PaK 40 anti-tank gun, delivered first in February of 1942. Although not widespread early in the war, it soon proved capable of knocking out the T-34 at longer ranges. But perhaps most importantly, the Germans began refining infantry tactics specifically to deal with Soviet armor. Ambushes using terrain, combined arms tactics where infantry worked closely with artillery, and engineer detachments trained in close combat techniques began to make a difference. As the grim reality of the Eastern Front set in, the German infantrymen quickly realized that bravery alone wouldn't stop the T-34. They needed tools that could pierce its armor, and they needed them fast. In late 1942, the German military began issuing a new class of weapon designed specifically to give foot soldiers a fighting chance against the Soviet armor, the shaped charge anti-tank grenade. The Haftholladung, or the adhesive hollow charge, was a significant technological leap forward that gave the infantrymen a deadly, if still dangerous, edge. It used a hollow charge warhead which focused explosive force into a narrow jet of molten metal capable of penetrating up to 140 millimeters of armor, enough to pierce even the T-34's thickest plates. Weighing about 3 kilograms, the device featured 3 powerful magnets arranged at the base, allowing it to cling firmly to a tank's exterior regardless of the angle. Once attached, the soldier would pull the fuse ignition, giving them a short delay, typically around 4 to 7 seconds, to get clear. In many cases, that short window was all that stood between success and death. The Haftholladung was especially effective in ambushes or urban combat, where tanks were forced into close proximity with infantry hiding in buildings, rubble, or shell holes. A soldier could wait until the tank passed, sprint forward, slap the mine on the engine deck or rear armor, and run. It was a brutal tactic, but far more effective than hurling grenades and hoping for the best. Field manuals began to emphasize the importance of approaching from the tank's rear or blind side, minimizing exposure to machine guns or supporting Soviet infantry. The soldiers trained extensively using mock-up tanks, practicing silent approaches, concealment techniques, and the swift mechanical motions of applying the charge under pressure. It wasn't just about sticking the mine to metal, it was about survival and precision in chaos. However, the Haftholladung wasn't perfect. It required close proximity, meaning it was generally a last resort weapon used when all the other anti-tank options had failed or were unavailable. From the middle of the war, more advanced anti-tank weapons, shaped charges, and rocket-propelled grenades like the Panzerfaust would gradually replace such risky close combat devices. Like the Haftholladung represented a critical early step in giving infantry the power to fight armor on somewhat equal terms. It was a physical manifestation of German ingenuity under pressure, where science, desperation, and courage met in the smoking ruins of the Eastern Front. It also marked a shift in doctrine. Armor was no longer invincible, and infantry would no longer simply retreat in the face of steel. They could fight and win. As the war progressed, the German soldiers learned the T-34, like any machine, had flaws. Its two-man turret forced the commander to both command and operate the gun, reducing efficiency. Visibility for the crew was poor, leading to limited battlefield awareness. These weaknesses were exploited in infantry ambushes, where the T-34s were lured into kill zones with concealed guns or anti-tank teams. The German infantry didn't crack the T-34 overnight, but they never found a perfect countermeasure in 1941. But through adaptation, tactical innovation, and fearless improvisation, they began to blunt the edge of a weapon that once seemed inaccessible. Ultimately, it was the beginning of an arms race on the Eastern Front, one that would define the brutal, grinding conflict for years to come. The T-34's aura was dented not just by German tanks or bombers, but by the grit, ingenuity, and the grit of the German army's foot soldiers. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to support my channel, check out the PayPal donation link in the description or consider becoming a member. To make sure you don't miss my future work, subscribe to my channel and press the bell notification button. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.